Welcome to this yoga session. My name is Brett Roberts. I am a Marine Corps veteran and a yoga teacher for Comeback Yoga based in Denver, Colorado. Just a few things before we get started. Everything that I say is just an offering. Please listen to your body and follow along as your body dictates. Your body is the boss, not my voice. So with that being said, we're going to start in a seated position, and then we're going to move on to our hands and knees, and then we will do some stuff standing, and then we will do some stuff laying down, both on our belly and our back. So we're going to be moving around a lot. It might get a little strenuous, so like I said, just follow along as your body feels that it can, and please listen to yourself. So, coming into a nice comfortable seat, whatever that looks like to you, to where you can get a nice long spine. I do prefer sitting on a block or a pillow or a blanket or something, maybe just to raise your hips up a little bit off the floor so you can get a nice longer, straighter spine. And then just kind of settling down and just take a quick body scan, kind of where you're at right now. Just maybe noticing any areas of tension or discomfort or anything like that that might be arising in your body, and maybe just try to take the position of the observer and just observe as we go through the practice any areas of discomfort or anything else that might arise in your body, and try not to pass judgment on it, but just accept them for sensations in your body. So that being said, let's just kind of maybe soften our gaze or close our eyes if that is available for you. And maybe placing one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. And then just maybe taking a moment to kind of notice your breath. Maybe you can feel your heartbeat. Maybe feeling your chest or your belly expanding and contracting with the inhales and exhales. And just take a moment just to kind of notice where you're at right now. And starting to bring our awareness into our breath, maybe bringing that breath all the way down into the base of the belly. And as we inhale, feeling the belly expand nice and full, maybe then feeling the ribs expand, and finally feeling the chest expanding up. And as we exhale, starting at the chest, letting the chest deflate, then the ribs deflate. And maybe you can pull the belly button all the way into the spine to make sure you get the last of the air pushed out. And just taking a few breaths like this, inhaling, feeling the belly expand, ribs expand, chest expand. As we exhale, feeling the chest deflate, ribs deflate, finally the belly deflate. And just continuing with this breath, maybe adding a count to your breath. I like to maybe do like a 4-count breath. So wherever you're at, let's exhaust all of our air out. And then inhaling for 2, 3, 4, and exhaling for 2, 3, 4, and another inhale for 2, 3, 4, and an exhale for 2, 3, 4. And just take a couple more rounds of breath like this, maybe letting your hands come back down by your sides, just softly resting on the mat next to you or on your lap or wherever you feel comfortable placing your hands. Taking another inhale breath and an exhale. And if it's available for you on your next inhale breath, let's inhale our arms up overhead. As we come to an exhale, just letting them softly float back down by the sides. And another inhale, inhaling them up. And exhale, letting them float down by the sides. And another inhale, inhaling them up. And this time, grabbing the right wrist with the left hand. As we come to an exhale breath, just take a little bend over to the left side, just until you start to feel some sensation in that right side body. Maybe taking an inhale, feeling the right side body expanding with the inhale. As we exhale, maybe finding some places that we can soften, let go of the tension, and just lean a little further over to the left. When you come to your next inhale breath, inhaling the arms back up overhead to center, switching the grip. As we exhale, just leaning slightly over to the right side. Again, just until we start to feel some sensation arising in that left side body. Taking an inhale breath. Staying for that exhale. And then on an inhale breath, inhaling the arms back up overhead. This time as we exhale, let's bring the right hand out behind us, left hand over the right thigh, coming into a little gentle twist to the right. Taking an inhale breath, feeling ourselves growing tall through the spine. As we exhale, maybe finding some places that we can soften, maybe move into the twist just a little deeper. Taking another big full inhale breath, creating the space. And then exhale, just softening. And then when we come to our next inhale breath, inhaling the hands back up overhead, coming back to center. And as we exhale, releasing the left hand out behind, right hand over the left thigh. Inhaling to grow nice and tall, out through the crown of the head, through the spine. As we exhale, finding those places that we can soften, maybe move a little deeper into the twist. Taking one more inhale breath here. Staying for the exhale. And then on our next inhale breath, inhaling the hands back up to center. This time as we exhale, exhaling down to cactus or goalpost arms. And then taking an inhale, feeling that chest expand out in front of you, feeling the chest full, heart popping out. As we exhale, leaning at the hips, coming into a little seated forward fold, not rounding into the spine. When you feel yourself starting to round into the spine, just placing your hands on the mat in front of you and letting your head hang heavy here. And then just taking a few rounds of breath here. Maybe just feeling the torso rising and falling with the inhales and the exhales. Just like the waves of the ocean rise and fall. Maybe imagining the spine growing a little longer on the inhales. Imagining ourselves just softening down towards the mat on the exhales. When you come to your next inhale breath, let's physically use our hands to push ourselves back up to a nice tall spine seated position. And if it's available for you, you'd like to, changing the cross of our legs. We usually sit with our legs preferred one way or the other, one in front of the other when we sit cross-legged. So just take a moment here to kind of settle in, take a couple rounds of breath, get situated. Inhaling a nice tall spine. Exhaling the shoulders down the back. And on our next inhale breath, inhaling the arms back up overhead again. Once again, grabbing that right wrist with the left hand. And exhale, just leaning over to the left side again. Maybe just noticing the subtle changes and the sensations that are rising in the body with the changing of the cross of the legs. Taking one more inhale breath here. Staying for that exhale. And then on your next inhale breath, inhaling, coming back up to center, switching the grip. As we exhale, leaning over to the left side. Again, just until we feel that sensation in the left side body. Inhale, growing nice and tall. Exhale, softening. And our next inhale, breath inhaling, the hands coming back up to center. And as we exhale, again, releasing that right hand out behind us, left hand over the right thigh. Just noticing the differences that maybe changing the cross of the legs has made in this twist. So we take another inhale, breath growing nice and tall through the spine. And then exhale, just softening into the twist. When you come to your next inhale breath, inhaling the arms back up overhead. And as we exhale, bringing the left hand out behind us, right hand over the left thigh. And inhaling to grow tall, create some space. As we exhale, finding those places to soften, maybe move into the space. Taking one final inhale breath here. Staying for the exhale. And when you come to your next inhale breath, inhaling the hands back up overhead. And once again, exhaling down to goalpost or cactus arms. Inhaling chest full, feeling that heart shine forward. As we exhale, leading with the heart, keeping a nice flat back, folding at the hips. And then just letting the head hang heavy once again. And just taking a couple rounds of breath here again. Maybe noticing those subtle changes that changing the cross of your legs has made. Maybe they're not so subtle. Wherever they are, just try to observe them and not pass judgment on them. Taking one more inhale breath here. Staying for that exhale. And then physically using our fingers to walk ourselves back up to a seated position. And then let's find our way coming onto all fours. Moving any props off to the side that you may have with you for just a moment. And if you have wrist issues here, maybe you can just bring your wrist just a little bit forward of your shoulders. If that doesn't alleviate it, maybe you can come onto fists. That can alleviate wrist issues. And if you have knee issues here, you can either roll your mat over, giving you a little extra padding like this, or maybe another way is to double your mat over like this. Bringing the knees back underneath, spreading the fingers wide, or coming onto the fists, or hands just slightly forward. Wherever your body needs to be comfortable, go ahead and take that posture. Then just take a nice, slow, controlled inhale breath here. As we exhale, just letting that chest sink down in between the biceps so we're not all hunched up in our shoulders. Taking another inhale, lengthening the neck out from the spine. And then exhale. And taking a moment to bring our awareness down into our lower pelvic region, into the lower abdominal area. Just giving a slight pull up and in on that lower pelvic region, maybe pulling the belly button into the spine. Then just take a moment here to kind of notice the support that tightening up the core gives us. And let's take another big inhale breath here. Another exhale, letting that heart sink down in between the shoulders. When we come to our next inhale breath, let's inhale our right hand up towards the ceiling. Maybe taking the gaze up with it. Pausing here for an exhale breath. Taking another big full inhale. This time as we exhale, if it's available for you, let's bring our right arm underneath our left armpit. Bringing that right shoulder and right ear down to the mat. And just taking a few rounds of breath here. Maybe actively pressing that back of the right hand into the floor. Actively spreading those fingers out. Taking one more inhale breath here. Staying for that exhale. And then when you come to your next inhale breath, let's inhale, reaching that right arm back up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, lowering it down to the mat. And then coming to an inhale breath, inhaling the left hand up. Pausing here for the exhale breath. Taking another inhale, maybe you can take that gaze up towards the thumb. As we exhale, reaching that left arm underneath the right armpit, left shoulder, left ear coming down to the mat. Be actively spreading the left fingers out wide, pressing the back of the hand into the floor. Just breathing into the sensations that may be arising. Imagining your inhale can create space. Imagining on the exhale you're softening and maybe moving in, moving through the space. Taking one more inhale breath here. Staying for that exhale. And our next inhale breath, inhaling left hand back up towards the ceiling. And then exhaling it down to the mat. And then just take a round of breath here to resituate yourself. Gripping down into the mat. Trying to pop the center of the palms just up off of the mat just a little bit so most of our weight is into our fingertips. And then taking an inhale breath here. As we exhale, let's just walk our hands out over to the right side of the mat. Just coming into another gentle left side body stretch here. Taking an inhale, starting all the way down in that left hip. Feeling that breath filling up the left side body, the left ribs, up into the armpit, into the shoulder. As we exhale, just finding those places that we can soften, finding those areas of tension that we can let go. Taking another big full inhale breath here. Staying for the exhale. And then inhale, walking the hands back to center. And then as we come to our exhale breath, just continuing on over to the left side. Again, just until we start to feel sensation in that right side body. And taking the breath into those sensations. Creating some space on the inhales. Softening on the exhales. Taking another big full inhale breath here. Staying for that exhale. And then inhale, walking our hands back to center. And then bringing our knees out to about the width of the mat, bringing the big toes together to touch, maybe coming onto the tops of the feet. And when you come to an exhale breath, just letting the hips sink back over the ankles, reaching the arms out in front of us. And then letting the head come to rest on either the mat, or if it won't reach the mat, maybe taking a block or a blanket or a pillow or something that you have, placing it underneath your forehead. Letting your forehead come to rest on that. And then just taking a few rounds of breath here, breathing all the way down into the back body, letting that breath climb all the way up the spine. As we exhale, again, just finding those places to soften. Maybe your brow is furrowed, maybe your jaw is clenched, maybe you're pressing your tongue to the top of your mouth. Whatever it is, find those areas that you can just soften. Maybe letting the hips sink a little closer towards the mat. Taking one more inhale breath here. Staying for that exhale. And our next inhale, coming back up to all fours. If you did have a prop placed underneath your forehead, just removing that to the side of the mat again. Taking a couple rounds of breath just to get resituated. Wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Checking in with the core, pulling the belly button up and in, pulling up and in on that lower pelvic region. And then when you come to an inhale breath, let's just straighten our right leg out behind us, sliding the toes along the mat. Maybe actively pushing out through that heel. Staying here for an exhale breath. And if it's available on an inhale, inhaling that right leg up off of the mat so it's equal with the level of the back. And as we exhale, just bringing that right foot over to the left side of the mat, placing it down on the floor outside the left side of the mat. Maybe you can take your gaze out over your left shoulder. And again, just pausing here for a couple rounds of breath, noticing the sensations that may be arising in your body, particularly across the right hip. And again, trying not to pass judgment or give them a name, just observing them for what they are, sensations in the body. Taking one final inhale breath here, staying for that exhale. On your next inhale breath, inhale, raising that right foot back up, bringing it back to center, and exhaling the knee down back onto the mat next to the left. And then on an inhale breath, pushing that left foot out behind us, straightening that left leg. Pausing here for the exhale. And then if it's available on an inhale breath, inhale, raising that right foot up off of the mat. As we exhale, crossing it over to the right side, placing it out on the floor beside the mat. Maybe taking that gaze out over the right shoulder. Looking back, maybe you can see your foot, maybe you can't. No extra points for either way. Just accepting where you're at in your body right here, right now. Noticing the sensations. Taking the breath to them. Taking an inhale breath. And an exhale. On your next inhale breath, inhale, raising the left foot back up. Bringing it back to center and exhaling it down onto the mat. And then again, inhaling that right leg, either just straightening it out on the mat and sliding the left hand out on the mat in front of you. Pausing here for an exhale. If you'd like to go a little deeper, inhale, raising the foot and arm up. Pulling that belly button into the spine, checking in with the core, feeling the support that a nice tight core gives us. Taking one more inhale breath here. As we exhale, releasing the hand and knee down to the mat. And then inhale, sliding left leg, right arm out. Pausing here for the exhale. If you'd like, on an inhale, breath inhale, raising them up off of the mat. Taking the exhale breath here. Inhale, reaching nice and long out through the fingertips, actively pushing out through the heel of the foot. As we exhale, releasing down to the mat. And then another inhale, breath inhaling, left arm, right leg out again. This time as we exhale, if it's available for you, maybe bringing the knee and the elbow together to touch underneath the torso. And then inhaling out long. Another exhale, bringing the knee to the elbow. Inhaling long. One final exhale, knee to elbow. Inhaling long. And then exhale, releasing down to the mat. And then taking an inhale, breath inhaling, right arm, left leg out. And exhale, bringing knee to elbow. Inhaling long. Exhaling knee to elbow. And another inhale long. Final exhale, knee to elbow. Inhaling long. And then exhaling down onto the mat. And then let's just take a moment to find ourselves coming into a comfortable seated position just for a moment, whether that be on your knees or sitting cross-legged or however. And let's bring our elbows and our forearms and our hands all together to touch and interlacing our fingers together, just taking a moment just to roll our wrists out here, taking them one way, taking them back the other way. Maybe you can do the little wave break dance. And then just taking a moment just to kind of shake them out. Let all that go. And then finding ourselves quickly back onto all fours just for a transition here. So this time let's just step our knees back about 6 inches or so, bringing the shoulders up over the wrists like we're into a low push-up position here. Again, checking in with the core, pulling the belly button into the spine. When you come to an exhale breath, let's exhale, straightening the legs up, bringing the chest and the head in towards the thighs, coming into an inverted V shape, downward facing dog. And then just take a few moments here to maybe invite some organic movement into your body, maybe bending one knee, letting the hips play out to the sides, then the other. Just taking a few moments just to let the whole body just kind of wake up, however that feels right to you. Maybe letting the whole body go side to side. Maybe you just want to shake your whole dog out. And then start finding our way into stillness. As we take an inhale breath, maybe bending the knees slightly, pushing back into the hands, out through the hips. Letting that head hang heavy. When you come to an exhale breath, keeping the hips where they are, maybe straightening the legs out a little bit, letting the heels find their way just a little closer down towards the mat. Taking a full round of breath here, inhaling and exhaling. And on your next inhale breath, bending the knees, looking forward. As we exhale, just slowly taking some baby steps, walking the hands up to the front of the mat, coming into a forward fold. If it's necessary for you here, maybe resting your hands on your thighs, or you can rest your hands on blocks. If you have blood pressure issues, please be aware that folding forward and coming up will change your blood pressure, so you might get a little dizzy. If you know this is the case, please take this position here with your forearms on your thighs. Just take a couple rounds of breath here. Maybe just letting the head hang heavy.
Maybe shaking the head yes and no. Just rotating the head out if you'd like, and if your arms are released down to the side, maybe just swaying the torso side to side a little bit. Or maybe just finding stillness. Maybe just letting the torso rise and fall with the inhales and the exhales. Wherever you're at, let's take one more inhale breath. And an exhale. And then our next inhale, let's bring our hands into our shins. Inhaling the back up into a nice flat back, halfway lift, pressing into the shins, out through the heels. As we exhale, bending the knees, letting the belly come to rest on the thighs, folding again. And pulling that belly button nice and tight into the spine. As we come to an inhale breath, just slowly rolling ourselves up, one vertebrae at a time. Letting the head and shoulders come up last. And then just exhaling the shoulders together and down the back. And then just taking a moment here just to notice our body, where we're at in our body. Coming back to that breath. Bringing our awareness down into our feet. Just noticing our feet grounding down into the mat beneath us. If you'd like, just slightly rocking forward and backwards from the balls of the feet to the heels of the feet. Just noticing the difference between it when the weight is forward and the weight is back. And then maybe just rocking the feet outside to side, coming into the insides of the feet and then to the outsides of the feet. Again, just noticing the differences. And coming into stillness, trying to get the weight even from the inside and the outside, and the ball of the foot to the heel of the foot. Taking an inhale breath. Feeling ourselves grounding down on the exhale. Checking in with that lower pelvic region, pulling up and in, pulling that belly button into the spine. Feeling the support that nice tight abs give us. Trying to stack the hips over the ankles, shoulders over the hips, trying to get the ears over the shoulders, letting the shoulders slide together down the back. When you come to an inhale breath, let's inhale our arms up overhead. Maybe you can take the gaze up with it. As we exhale, bringing the palms together to touch, coming down through heart center. Another inhale, inhaling the arms up. And exhaling down through heart center. And inhaling up. And this time as we exhale, we're going to bend our knees and coming into a forward fold, pulling that belly button into the spine. And then inhaling, hands coming to shin, coming up into a halfway lift. And as we exhale, planting the hands and stepping the right foot back into a high lunge. And then letting that right knee sink down onto the mat. So our knee is not directly underneath our hip, but it's out behind it. Left knee is over the ankle. Just take a couple rounds of breath here, noticing the sensations that may be arising in your body. Maybe imagining that inhale can create some space. Finding those places that we can soften and maybe move in and around the space. And then if it's available for you on an inhale breath, let's inhale, bringing our hands up to our knees, to our knee, our thigh. A nice straight spine here. As you come to an exhale breath, letting the hips sink down. If you'd like to go a little further on an inhale breath, maybe inhaling the arms up overhead. Let's go ahead and place our palms together, interlacing the lower three fingers, keeping the index finger pointed up towards the ceiling. And when we come to an exhale breath, maybe just leaning again over to that right side. And then inhaling back up to center. And exhaling over to the left. And another inhale up to center. And if it's available, maybe on an exhale, maybe just taking a slight little mini back bend, taking the gaze up towards the thumbs. Inhale, coming back to center, ears over the shoulders. And then exhale, releasing the hands down, framing the foot This is a good spot where, if you'd like, you can maybe use blocks or pillows or something to raise your hands up if that's necessary. Let's take one more inhale breath here. As we exhale, we're just going to step that left foot back next to the right. As you take an inhale breath, bringing that right foot up in between the hands or the blocks, wherever we're at. Again, just take a couple rounds of breath here just to get situated. Feel yourself grounding down through the front foot, grounding down through the knee. Back foot, you can either have the toes plugged or be on the top of the foot, whichever is more comfortable for you. Again, bringing our awareness into that lower pelvic region, tightening up the core. When you come to your next available inhale breath, inhale, maybe bringing the hands up onto the thighs. Nice straight long spine here. Exhale, sinking down into those hips. If you'd like to go a little further on an inhale breath, inhaling the arms up overhead. And again, interlacing the fingers, pointing the index fingers up towards the ceiling. Taking an inhale. As we exhale, just taking that slight little lean over to the right side. And then inhaling back up to center. And then exhale, leaning over to the left. And inhaling back up to center. And if it's available, on an exhale, maybe taking just a little mini back bend or just taking the gaze up towards the thumbs. And then inhale, coming back to center. And exhale, placing the hands back, framing the foot. Pausing here for an exhale breath. And then on an inhale, let's step that left foot up to meet the right, coming into a forward fold on an exhale. Inhaling into a halfway lift. And exhale, fold. And then inhaling, arms coming out, around, and all the way up. And exhaling, hands down through heart center. And again, maybe just noticing our feet. Coming back into our nice grounded, rooted mountain pose. Pulling that belly button into the spine. We come to an inhale breath, inhaling the arms back up overhead. And again, exhale into a forward fold. Inhaling into a halfway lift. And exhale, fold, planting the hands. Once again, stepping that right foot back to a high lunge, and then dropping the knee down into a low lunge. Taking a round of breath here to get situated. If you need props for your hands, that is fine. And taking an inhale breath, sinking into the hips on the exhale. And then again on an inhale, just inhale, raising the arms up overhead. This time as we exhale, bringing the right hand out behind us, left hand out in front. Maybe taking the gaze out over that right thumb to a twist to the right. Inhaling, creating some space. As we exhale, maybe just finding those places to soften, move into the space. Your next inhale breath, let's inhale the arms coming back up. And then exhale, releasing the left hand out behind, right hand comes forward. Taking a little twist to the left. Inhaling, feeling the torso expanding. And then inhale, bringing the arms back up overhead, coming back to center. As we exhale, releasing the right hand out behind, left hand comes forward. Maybe taking the gaze out over that right thumb. Taking an inhale breath, creating the space. Exhale, maybe finding those places to soften and move into the space. On your next inhale breath, inhaling the arms back up overhead. And exhale, releasing down to the mat or blocks. And then inhale, stepping left foot up to meet right. Exhaling into a forward fold. Inhaling into a halfway lift. And then exhale, fold. And then charging down into the feet, pulling the belly button into the spine as we inhale, coming all the way up. Arms up towards the ceiling. And exhale, hands down to heart center. And then just maybe taking a moment just to kind of shake all that out. Observing where our body is at now. Maybe we're feeling a little warmer. Moving our props out.
And then re-grounding ourselves back down into our feet. Going nice and tall through the spine. Checking in with the core. Feeling the support that tightening the abs up gives us. Taking an inhale breath. And an exhale. And on your next inhale breath, maybe just inhale slightly. Leaning the weight into the left foot, bringing the right toes up off onto the right toes. And then maybe exhale, sliding that right sole of foot in next to the left ankle. Right knee coming out to the side. If you'd like here, maybe bringing your hands into heart center, placing the palms together. Maybe this is a challenging enough balance pose for you here. If you'd like, maybe just sliding that right foot up, placing the sole of the foot either on the inside of the shin or the inside of the thigh. Just do not place your foot on your knee. And then just finding a few rounds of breath here. Inhaling. If you have to drop in and out, that's okay. Wherever we are at today, we are not in competition with each other. We are not in competition with ourselves. We're just here noticing our body. Taking one final inhale breath here. As we exhale, just releasing everything down to the mat. And maybe taking another moment to kind of shake it out. Let everything go. Let the judgments go. Let it all go. And just coming back into our breath. Grounding down into our feet. Inhaling the spine long, chest full. Exhale, grounding down. And then inhale, coming up onto the left toes, weight to the right foot. As we exhale, maybe sliding that left sole of foot in towards the right ankle, left knee goes out to the side, maybe again bringing the hands up, placing the palms together at heart center. Maybe this is far enough for you. If you'd like to challenge yourself a little more, maybe sliding the sole of that foot up either onto the inside of the shin or the inside of the thigh. Just do not place it on the knee. Again, if you have to touch in and out of the pose, that is okay too. Balance is different on each side. Just noticing those differences, accepting them, not passing judgment on them. Coming back to the breath. Coming back to that nice tight core. Taking one more inhale breath. And an exhale. And inhaling. As we exhale, just releasing down to the mat and letting it go. Shaking it, wiggling it out. And then let's bring our feet out to about the width of the mat. Toes are pointed out at about 25 to 30 degree angle. Again, tightening that core up. Always tightening the core up, feeling the energy emanating from the core, from the center. Pulling everything into that center line. Taking an inhale breath nice and full. If it's available for you on an exhale, just starting to slowly squat down. Maybe along the way we can take a pause for an inhale. As we exhale, maybe continuing down a little further. Maybe you can get to a spot where you can place your forearms on your thighs. Or if you'd like, maybe bringing the elbows into the inside of the knees, placing the palms together. Then actively pushing out through the elbows into the knees as we actively pull the knees into the elbows. Staying here for an inhale breath. Pulling up and in on that lower pelvic region, tightening up those abs. And even in these harder poses, maybe finding those places that we can just soften and release the tension and let go. Maybe unfurrowing our brow, or maybe our jaw is clenched. Wherever we can release, just let that tension go. Taking another inhale breath here. And an exhale. And one final inhale breath. And then when you come to your exhale, let's find ourselves coming down safely onto a seated position, however we can get there. Stretching the legs out in front of us. Maybe just take a minute just to windshield wiper our feet back and forth. Trying to let that motion go all the way up into the ball and socket joints of the hips. Maybe just patting your legs out. Then let's take our hands, fingers are pointing back towards our toes. Hands are underneath our shoulders. We're going to point our toes out, pull that belly button into the spine, and if it's available on an inhale, just inhale, raising the hips up. Coming into a reverse plank here. Staying for one inhale breath and an exhale breath. One more inhale, maybe raising those hips up a little higher. As we exhale, just coming back down. Seated on the mat. Again, bringing the legs out long in front of us. Nice straight spine here. Maybe actively pulling the toes back towards the knees. If you have knee issues or really tight hamstrings, maybe you can place some blocks or a blanket or pillows or whatever you have underneath your knees here. Just to relieve a little bit of that sensation in the hamstrings. We come to an inhale breath. Let's inhale our arms up overhead. Nice full chest, bringing that heart center out. As we exhale, just slowly folding forward at the hips and just letting the hands come to rest on wherever they happen to touch down onto your legs. And let the head hang heavy here. And just breathing. That nice slow breath. Move back to those even 4 count inhales. The even 4 count exhale. Another inhale breath here. And an exhale. When we come to our next inhale breath, let's physically use our hands to walk ourselves back up to a seated position. And then if you have anything underneath your knees, go ahead and place that out to the side. We're going to bend our knees here, placing our feet flat on the mat. And just grabbing the base of the hamstrings just below the knees. We're going to take an inhale breath, really bringing that chest full, letting that heart pop out in front of us. As we exhale, we're just going to start slowly lowering down like we're coming into a recliner. Leaning back, getting nice and comfortable in our recliner. Maybe letting the feet start to weigh softly on the mat, maybe just pausing there. Maybe you're getting a good ab workout here. If you'd like to take it a little further, maybe just raising the feet slightly up off of the mat. Really pulling that belly button into the spine. Maybe staying here. Maybe you can straighten the legs out in front of you. If this is not enough, maybe you can release the grip, reaching the hands out. Bringing those shoulders together and down the back. Taking one big full inhale breath here. Staying for that exhale. On your next inhale, grabbing back behind those hamstrings again, and then just exhale, releasing down onto the mat. And then coming onto our elbows. Knees are bent here. Let's just take a moment and walk our knees out to about the width of the mat, letting the knees knock in together. Just taking a round of breath here. Taking a nice big full inhale breath. And an exhale. And another inhale. This time as we come to an exhale breath, just letting the knees rock down to the right side of the mat. You bring the arms up to a T or goalpost arms. If you'd like, maybe stacking that right ankle on top of the left knee. Get a little more sensation in the left outer hip. Maybe you can take that gaze out over the left shoulder if that is available. And taking another inhale breath, filling that left side body nice and full of air. As we exhale, just releasing, softening, letting go. And then another inhale breath. And if you have your right ankle on top of the left knee on the exhale, releasing that back down to the mat. And then inhale, bringing the gaze and the knees back up to center. And then exhale, releasing down to the left side. Again, maybe taking that left ankle, stacking it on top of the right knee.
Maybe taking the gaze out over the right shoulder if that's available. Taking a couple rounds of breath here. Inhaling into that right side body. Bringing that breath all the way down from the hip, all the way up into the armpit. And exhale, softening the knees down into the mat. Taking another inhale breath. And if you have the ankle stacked on top of the knee on the exhale, releasing the foot back down to the mat. And then inhale, bringing the knees back up to center. And bringing the feet back in, about hips width distance apart. Bringing the arms back down by the sides, palms down into the mat. And taking an inhale breath, inhaling the left or right sole of foot up towards the ceiling. And exhale, crossing that right knee over the left thigh. Maybe taking that right hand and just pushing that right knee out away from you just a little bit. Releasing that hand back down to the mat. And just taking a couple rounds of breath here. Noticing the sensations in the body. Again, not trying to pass judgment or say you should be somewhere else, just accepting where you're at. Breathing into the sensations. Our next inhale breath, inhaling the right sole of foot back up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, releasing the right foot down to the mat. On an inhale breath, inhaling the left sole of foot up towards the ceiling. As we exhale, crossing that left ankle over the right thigh. Maybe taking that left hand and pushing that left knee out away from us just a little bit. Finding those places that we can soften here. Coming back to that nice, deep, slow, controlled breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And taking another big full inhale breath here. Staying for that exhale. On your next inhale breath, inhaling the left sole of foot up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, placing that foot down next to the mat on the right. And then pulling the belly button into the spine. On an inhale breath, inhale, raising the hips up off of the mat for one more bridge. Exhale, finding those places to soften. Taking another inhale breath, reaching the hips high. As we exhale, slowly rolling the spine down one vertebrae at a time, releasing the tailbone down to the mat last. Maybe bringing one knee and then the other into the chest. Giving yourself a little hug here. Rolling around on the spine if that's available. And then releasing the feet down onto the mat. Straightening the legs out. Actively pulling the toes back towards the knees. Taking an inhale breath, inhaling the right sole of foot up towards the ceiling. As we exhale, letting that right hip sink down into the mat. Taking another inhale, actively pushing out through both soles of the feet. We come to an exhale, releasing the right foot down to the mat next to the left. And then inhaling left sole of foot up towards the ceiling. Exhale, letting that left hip sink down into the mat, letting the whole weight of the leg push the hip into the mat. Inhaling, actively pushing out through both heels. As we exhale, releasing the left leg down to the mat next to the right. And just taking a moment maybe just to wiggle and shake the legs out. Maybe letting that wiggle and shake transfer up into the back, into the torso, and just letting the whole body just wiggle around on the mat for a moment. Just releasing any final tension that we may have in our body. And then coming into stillness, maybe bringing the legs out to about the width of the mat, letting the feet splay out naturally to the sides, bringing the arms down to the sides, palms face up. And letting go of the breath,
Just letting ourselves sink down into the mat, softening. Maybe you can close your eyes here. Maybe take a little micro nap. I'm going to sit up here to keep myself awake. But please feel free to soften your gaze or close your eyes. Just letting yourself come into stillness with both body and mind. Maybe imagining that your bones are popsicles, your muscles are jello, and the jello is just hanging softly onto the sticks, sinking down into the mat. Everything is just relaxing, softening, and just letting yourself go, letting the thoughts pass by like clouds floating by in the sky, not grabbing onto any one thought or the other, just letting them float by, letting the body sink into the mat, just softening. And then bringing our awareness back into our breath. Maybe just noticing the gentle rise and fall of the belly and the chest with the inhales and the exhales. Maybe you can notice the feeling of the air as it passes through the nostrils, through the sinuses. Maybe you can notice a slight change in temperature from the cool inhales to the warm exhales. Maybe just noticing the space that our body is occupying in the room. Maybe you can notice the temperature of the air on your skin. When you're ready, maybe starting to invite a little gentle movement back into the body. Maybe just wiggling the fingers and the toes. If you'd like, maybe rolling the wrists and the ankles out. If it feels appropriate, maybe reaching the arms up overhead, taking one final full long body stretch, pointing the toes out, reaching out through the fingertips. And then when you're ready, if it's available, maybe bringing one knee and then the other into the chest, giving yourself one final hug. Maybe rolling around on your spine just a little bit. And then when you're ready and you're available, either going on to one side and pushing yourself up to a comfortable seat, or just rocking forward and backward and coming up into a comfortable seat. However you can arrive to a comfortable seated position, maybe allowing the gaze to remain soft or the eyes closed. Maybe you'd like to bring your hands, palms together into heart center. Maybe slightly bowing the head into the hands. Maybe just bringing in that feeling of gratitude, finding something that you're grateful for in your life here and now today. Maybe taking another quick body scan. Maybe noticing if there's been any shifts or any changes in your body or in your mind since we stepped onto our mat approximately an hour ago to now. Taking one final inhale together as a group, and an exhale. As we all walk our separate paths in life, we simultaneously accept both the role of student and teacher. The student within me bows in honor and respect to the teacher within all of you and within the all of everything. Namaste. Thank you for taking the time out of your day and participating in our yoga practice.